Charles Barkley and LeBron James are beefing. So, we're going to be talking about that here. We got Nick, another episode of the Sports Brotherhood. What's going on?
Not much, man. How you doing?
Good, good. A little bit better than Charles Barkley these days. Everybody's talking about the old riff between him and LeBron. So, let's dig on in that. So, as I'm sure everybody that's watching this, if you're watching it, obviously you're a sports fan. Actually, real quick, selfless plug. Go ahead, like, subscribe, comment, do all that good stuff. But anyways, anybody that's a sports fan is very well aware of the riff, the beef, the feud, whatever you want to call it, LeBron James and Charles Barkley. So Chuck called him out last week when LeBron said, hey, we need more help on this team. They'd lost 6 of 7. It's the middle of January. What we need, what did he say? He said, we're top heavy. It's pretty much LeBron, Love, Kyrie, and, that's it.
That's
we need
it.
another playmaker. So LeBron called him out, called him whiny, called him, pretty much just called him whiny and said he doesn't want to win, or he's not hungry enough to win because he keeps wanting to have a stacked team. So LeBron fired back, and I want to read this quote here real quick. So he goes, I'm not going to let him disrespect my legacy like that. I'm not the one who threw somebody through a window, referring to Barkley, who got drunk and literally threw a dude through a window when he was playing. Said I never spit on a kid, which Chuck did. I never had an unpaid debt in Vegas, which Barkley and Jordan were notorious gamblers in their days, going out to Vegas and, just blowing millions of dollars. I never said I'm not a role model, which, I don't know, for those that remember, when LeBron went to the Heat, Barkley called him out and said, you're never going to be like Jordan. You're leaving Cleveland behind. You're chasing rings and all that stuff. And LeBron went back at him in his Nike campaign, the What Should I Do? That one. So he said, should I say I'm not a role model? And he goes, hi, Chuck, and winks at him. So it's just, they've had this history. Barkley called him out for being whiny. LeBron responds, like I said, I'm not going to let you disrespect my legacy. I never showed up to All-Star Weekend on Sunday because I was in Vegas weekend partying. All I've done my entire career is represent the NBA the right way. 14 years, never got in trouble. Respected the game. Print that. So what are your thoughts on, I guess, first of all, just the basic history of the feud? I mean, these guys have had beef, for the longest time, for Charles, doing his job, analyzing, critiquing, and a lot of it being directed at LeBron. What are your thoughts on kind of the whole history of that?
I wasn't really too aware of, I guess, the previous beef until you brought that up earlier tonight with that Nike campaign. Was totally unaware of that. But I think Chuck just has an issue. I don't think it's with LeBron per se. I would say more of the league. I think he's more of a representative of the old style of basketball, I guess, like the old brand of basketball, like the Jordan, the Pippins, the Malones. It's Chuck. That's all that's left now. He's the broadcaster. He represents that. So I think that as a player back then, you couldn't really go out and say, okay, I want this player, I want this move, and it'll happen. GMs are doing what they wanted to back then. Nowadays, you can have LeBron, who's basically dictating that entire organization, which he has been his entire career, but why wouldn't they listen to what LeBron says? I think that's the more issue that Chuck has, is that, okay, why wasn't I given this when I'm a player? This kid was signed to a $90 million contract before he was even signed with Cleveland, basically. I don't know, I just think
Nike deal, with his shoe deal, yeah.
Before he was even drafted, which I think you just did not see that back then. And I think it's more of a personal vendetta between generations, like LeBron's generation, Jordan's generation. So I just think and then Chuck's just doing what he does. He's just being that color commentator. He doesn't watch games. He doesn't do this. He
admitted that. He says, I don't watch the games.
He doesn't watch games. So for him to sit here and just basically critique the off-court stuff, the interviews and yada, yada, like, of course LeBron wants to win. He's a competitor. He's the if not the biggest competitor in basketball. So he sees OKC dumping resources, doing this, doing that, pulling together this super team. Or not OKC, I'm sorry, Golden State. Pulling together this super team, and they've faced him 2 years in a row in the finals, so it's almost inevitable who they're going to face again. So he wants that same caliber of team. So, of course, he's going to complain, go to the media, go to the organization, Whatever he has to do, he wants to win.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point as far as kind of separating the LeBron and Chuck and kind of having to be more about eras. I think that's a really good point because, I mean, really, the two eras are just so far apart. I mean, Chuck's era, the 80s and 90s, there was no, I mean, essentially basketball today is a spread offense. So there wasn't a spread offense. You played with two, sometimes as many as three people in the low post, whether it be, your small forward, your power forward, and your center. And it was an entirely different game. It was back to the basket. You're not spacing the floor. You're not shooting threes. But yeah, he's very, obviously very opinionated. But yeah, I think the assessment as far as it being about, generations and not about, the LeBron versus Chuck, I think that's a really good point. But and I don't know why he's like that. I mean, there's so many other people from that era that are great, just like he is, that have not had this vendetta against era. And I mean, to a small extent, it is on LeBron a little bit, just because he has singled him out because of how good he is. But it just, I can't really put my finger on why, because he's always been critical. Like we've said, the Nike campaign. He's went at him before, when he went to Miami, saying he'll never be like Jordan. And he said that his top five of all time, he said it's never going to change. It's Jordan, I think Jordan, Oscar, Kareem, Wilt, and Bill Russell. So he's saying those five are never going to change. He said LeBron's never going in his top five. Kobe's not going in his top five. Tim Duncan. So I think you made a really good point, like I said, about it being more about eras. But these two, like they just can't. There's just something about it where they butt heads and, kind of – I feel like LeBron had every right to respond the way he did. I think he's been very cordial, very respectful, very professional about the things that, how long was LeBron probably the biggest enemy in the league? A good, 2-3 years?
Longer than that. I would say the second the decision came out, I would say he's probably been the enemy. So, I mean, and now we have with Golden State building this, what they're building. I think they're perceiving – the league perceives LeBron as still a villain, I think.
I can't go that far. I think when he came back to Cleveland, and especially this last year, like when Golden State blew that 3-1 lead, everybody jumped back on LeBron bandwagon, to me, in my opinion. Because
I'm
a Warriors fan, and I was just like, they just went 73-9, and they straight up, dude, they choked. Like, they choked in the finals. They're up 3-1 loss. And to me, it felt like everybody jumped off the Warriors, went back to the Cavs, and now everybody seems to be jumping off the Cavs and going back to the Warriors. So,
I think we saw. Yeah, that's a whole other conversation. I just think LeBron pushed Steph Curry to the ground and said, "Give me that little boy. That's mine."
Yep.
Like, I'm taking this game 4 from here on out. This is my series. Like, I'm taking this over, and that was it. Like, once LeBron did whatever he wanted to do the last 4 games of that series.
Pretty much. But yeah. So getting back on topic. I think LeBron has always carried himself with that professionalism. Doesn't really respond to the haters, which he called Chuck. He said Chuck's just a hater. Screw him. So I'm all for LeBron coming out. I mean, sticking up for himself, I guess, but just kind of. I mean, he straight up says he's not going to disrespect my legacy like that. Calls it for what it is. Chuck just being a hater, and all these things that Chuck has called him out on for. I mean, Chuck got drafted next to – 84 is his first year. So he got drafted with Dr. J, Moses Malone, Mo Cheeks, who's the all-time leader in steals, was, not anymore, but when he retired. So it's like all these things that he's critiquing LeBron for, he never had that problem. He played a loaded team in Philly, forced his way out, traded to Phoenix, had played with a loaded team there, then teamed up with Akeem, Scottie Pippen, and Clyde Drexler in Houston. Like, what is he talking about?
I think Chuck's just doing his job, honestly. I think it's just that I think that's the uneducated side of Chuck's job, like how he doesn't watch the games, doesn't critique the actual playing. It's more of like a personal, like, oh, he shouldn't be whining. He's the king. He won last year's championship. Why is he whining? But then you have, like the video we just watched of Shaq, Ernie, Kenny, all attacking Chuck saying, hey, man, look who you played with. Like, why? They wanted to win. Like, there's only one goal in the NBA. And that is to win. And as far as like LeBron I think LeBron went about it the wrong way. I think he could have kept his classy persona about it. He attacked him personally instead of against his game. LeBron should have just said, "Hey, Chuck, where's your rings?" and just left it at that. That should have been it.
And
But
that would have been
attacking
so
him,
much better.
yeah, he should have just been, "Chuck, where's your rings?" and then just walked away. Like that should have been it. And attacking him personally, I think that shows that LeBron actually took what Chuck said to heart. Like it just shows the different kind of player he is than Charles Barkley. LeBron James he lives basketball. That's it. Lives, eats, sleeps, breathes basketball. So when you talk about basketball, saying that he's whining, doing this, doing that, not having his heart in the game, he's gonna take that personally. When Chuck had his heart in strippers, gambling, throwing people through windows, whatever it wasn't always there. Like he was out of shape 90% of the time. So that just shows the kind of players they are and people they are, I guess. So I just think LeBron could have handled it better.
Yeah, but
He could have just said like, "Hey man, I'm the king." Like they called me the king when I was 19 years old.
and
That's it. Like I'm the prodigy. Like when was his first NBA Finals? His second season?
No, it was 07. But that team that he got drafted to was god awful. They had
God awful.
Larry Hughes. Their big
Eric Snow
acquisition, or excuse me, trade was freaking Mo Williams. Like, what are you doing? And scored 29 out of 30, game 5 against Detroit in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Mm-hmm.
Got to the finals against San Antonio and got swept. But it's like, dude, that team was so bad. And
so bad.
Playing with Hall of Famers his whole career.
And then only got there one time with Phoenix against Michael and got beat.
Yeah, so that Philly team that he got drafted to, they won the championship that year before.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes in and it's just so yeah, he played on good teams, and like you said, I think he only got there that one time. Granted, he did win the MVP that year, but yeah, he got there one time, and LeBron's been the last 7 years.
Right.
So,
7 years. I mean, think about that. That is incredible. I mean, I'm LeBron GOAT as of right now. So pro GOAT right now. Yeah, I'd say if he wins this year, yeah. But we'll save that for later.
Let's just kind of compare the two players' careers and kind of. I mean, everybody knows Barkley's one of the all-time greats. He's got named one of the best 50 players ever. LeBron obviously is one of the all-time greats.
1, 2, yeah.
I mean, just kind of looking at their careers, we've already went over, Chuck got drafted by Philly, spent his first, 6 or 7 years there, forces it out, went to Phoenix, played with Hall of Famers, got to the finals, played 4 years in Phoenix, then went to Houston for the tail end of his career. So you look at LeBron, where it's Cleveland, number 1 overall pick, and then after –
How many finals did he go to in Cleveland?
I'm pretty sure just one, because then he got beat. He kept getting
Detroit.
beat by Boston.
Did he run into Detroit one year?
Yeah, but he beat him that year. That's when they went to the finals. That's when they played San Antonio, and then they lost to Boston the next 2 years. Or no, excuse me, they lost to Boston, Orlando, and then Boston again. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's just like they're both great. Both. LeBron maybe has played with some lesser talent than Chuck. But, I mean, LeBron is the better – I mean, the only thing that I could give Chuck a nod on is rebounding. And I do have to give him credit because he's essentially 6'4", playing the power forward position, 6'4", 6'5". He's listed as 6'6", but –
320.
I mean, where can you really give Chuck the nod over LeBron as far as what type of player he is?
Nowhere. Scoring, no. Passing, no. Rebounding, no. Athleticism, no. Leadership, no. I mean, there's just no way. I mean, it's a wash, like all the way across the board. It's LeBron head over heels. I would say LeBron 2 behind Jordan right now. Chuck, what, top 20 maybe?
Top 20, top 25.
Maybe. I mean, you'd have to make an argument for me to put him in the top 20, I guess.
I mean, even when he was on Houston, he wasn't even the best player on the team.
No, God no. Yeah, Akeem was. That was Akeem's latter years, and he was still the best player on the team. So, Well, yeah, I mean, how many? Okay, that's a better question. How many times has Chuck been the best player on his team? Once?
No, more than that. I mean, those Suns teams, I'd say he was hands down the best player. KJ,
Yeah.
underrated point guard. Your boy Thunder Dan, Danny
Thunder
Ainge,
Dan.
Cedric Ceballos. I mean, Philly. Dr. J retired after his second year. Mo Cheeks was getting up there. So I mean, he was. I'd give him. I mean, he won MVP, but it just seems like he's just like you mentioned to start. He's bitter about the eras. He's bitter about players having all the power, which they should because people don't pay to see owners; they pay to see
Yeah,
players.
exactly. That's where they make the money. I mean, it is what it is.
So he just comes off as like bitter and a little bit out of touch. I mean, he's. I'm not saying that he can't critique LeBron because I mean it's not like we played at NBA and we're critiquing Chuck and LeBron, but it's just like. You might want to reel it in a little bit and kind of have it be a little bit more level-headed than just start, throwing stuff out there and seeing what sticks. So,
yeah, I almost think that's kind of what they pay him for, though. Like he's that wild card on the show, whatnot. I mean, it is the best studio show behind SportsCenter. I mean, honestly, but
all right, that's a good point. That's totally what he's there for is to say the outlandish things. So,
but at the same time, you have all three of the other hosts attacking him, saying you're crazy. Like, why are you even making these comments? Of course, LeBron's going to attack you. Like, I don't know. It's just all almost comical to me that Chuck even has. I mean, yeah, of course he's going to have an opinion. That's what he's paid to do right now. But it's almost comical to the point that he has anything bad to say about LeBron. I mean,
I know, right?
It's crazy. Like, what he should be saying is, don't blink because you're going to miss it. Like, you're seeing greatness. I mean, there's never been a player like him ever. There's never been a player like him. You can't compare Michael to him because Michael isn't. Let's say LeBron and Michael are in their own league, and they're a totally different player, though. Like, LeBron is just a freak. Like, there's never been anyone like him. Never will be anyone like him. Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, people always do that Jordan LeBron thing, but yeah, you can't. You cannot compare them. Jordan was a scorer through and through, and I think in his heart of hearts, LeBron is more of a passer than a scorer. He would rather draw three defenders, find a teammate wide open in the corner, and hit a three. And you know what? That's the right basketball play.
Well, that's the difference between Jordan and LeBron, which is a totally different conversation. But Jordan had players around him that made him look great and made him great. LeBron makes everyone else around him look great. Like LeBron's the passer, the rebounder, the scorer, the defender.
Don't you think Jordan did the same thing? I mean,
he did, but it's on different levels almost. I would say that LeBron is probably one of the best passers of all time. I mean, that dude he sees the floor. It's crazy, and he's 6'9". Like, to be that big, that fast, and can pass the ball like he can and score at will it's crazy.
So, are you putting, if you had to rate this on a scale of 1 to 10, like Chuck with a 1 being like, dude, you should probably just shut up, 10 being like, yeah, you're spot on, and then for LeBron, 1 being, hey, shut up, 10, you're spot on, where would you grade them?
I would say Chuck is probably at a 2. And LeBron is probably at like a 2. I would say LeBron didn't need a person like a lash out at like personal lash out, I guess. It didn't deserve that.
Keep it, like you said, to the rings comment. Where's
like you're clearly in the argument for the best player of all time. Like, who cares what Chuck fucking says? Like, Charles Barkley never won a championship. He's won 1 MVP, which, I mean, Jordan probably should have just won the MVP that year anyways, but
they literally got sick of giving it to him. They're like,
it's kind of like what they do with LeBron now. Like, the reason they gave it away last year. Like, I mean, granted, Steph Curry last year, but 2 years ago,
had one of the best seasons ever. But 2 years ago, I could see LeBron getting it.
They just gave it away. Like, he should have got it for the last 10 years straight, almost. But I don't know. Chuck. He's out of line. He's just out of line. I mean, do your commentating. Watch the games. Like, I think I know you're paid to be the color commentator, but watch the damn games, man. Like, you played in the NBA. You're a Hall of Famer. Watch the games. Like, it's funny because everyone else is in studio watching the game, and you're not even paying attention. Like, what is he doing? That's what I want to know. Is he just over there shooting free throws on the fake basket? Like
Probably on his phone playing blackjack. Just like,
him and him and
it's
Shaq are just wrestling.
that is so funny when I get after it. But yeah, I'm probably with you. I think I went into this thinking that they were both pretty much evenly to blame. I'd give Chuck probably give him a 5 because I don't disagree with the premise of what Chuck was saying as far as like, hey, dude, you're kind of whining about this. You're, coming off a championship team, all those things. But at the same time, you should have a little bit more awareness of the situation. Like you said, Golden State's loading up. Cleveland doesn't really – I mean, they have a big 3, but they don't have a freaking Kevin Durant. So
yeah. Kevin Love just isn't what he was in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I mean, when he's the 1, yeah, he looks great. But when he is forced to be the 2 or the 3, he's just not Draymond, man. That's just all there is to it.
Doesn't have the heart.
No.
But yeah, I'd say so. I give Chuck a 5, and then I'd give LeBron. I'm giving him a 10, man. Like I know that he should not have taken it personal. I can't say 10. I'll give him a 7. He should not have made it personal, like you said. Like, where's the ring, stuff like that. Like that would have been great. But man, like you can only take that prodding for however many years now. I mean, 2010 was when he went to the Heat. 7 years, and Chuck's just poking him. You're not going to disrespect my legacy. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. I'm a role model. Do things right. Respect that and print that. Like
he is a role model. His post game interview directly after the game tonight was just so spot on. Like they were like, you were given he won some award for Black History Month, and they were like, you're given this award tonight, and he was like, don't even put me in that category. It's Muhammad Ali or Jackie Robinson or this person or this person. He's like, I'm here because of them. He's like, you cannot put me in that category because I would not be here if it wasn't for those people. I am just lucky to be receiving this award because of those guys. Like that's a class act answer. Like anyone else would have mindlessly thought like, oh yeah, thank you, I appreciate that. But he's like, no. As great as I am, I would never be here if it wasn't for them.
And that's something that's crazy. I mean, when he came into the league, there's like a certain respect of him for his intellectualism. So he's coming into the league at 18 years old, and he's talking, I'm trying to think who would have been a vet in like 2004 or 2003. I think
Chauncey Billups.
Oh no. Somebody that was like old in 03, like somebody that came into the league in like 1990 or something, like Tim Hardaway. Okay,
there you go.
Tim Hardaway. He's like talking hoops or something to Tim Hardaway, and he's talking about stuff that happened in like the 70s and 80s before he was born. And that's just who he is. Like he's a student of the game. He knows his history. Like if you don't know where you've been, you're not going to know where you're going. Like all those things. And I think that's something that, definitely is worthy of respect. But like you said, he notices that it's not just about him. It's bigger than him. And there's been people before him. And then obviously there's going to be people after him. So just kind of like you said earlier, like how can you say anything bad about the guy? So
he's chasing that ghost, man. That's all he's doing.
It's the big 2-3. Big 2-3. Which now he's back to being the big 2-3. I didn't like it when he was 6, but I'll take it.
No, that was weird. It's too weird for me.
All right, so we're both in agreement here. Chuck doing his job and maybe just toned it down a little bit, and LeBron's just one of the best ever. So, I mean, hey, what can you say about that? So, all right, well, for those that stuck around, we always say we're going to do them short, and they turn out to be like much longer than expected. But yeah, definitely like, subscribe, give us a comment. Let us know if this is something where you think Chuck's in the wrong, LeBron's in the wrong. Let us know, and yeah, appreciate you watching, and until next time.